well, two things. I still keep in touch with Mrs. Jean on Facebook, who was my class second grade teacher. So it's pretty cool because she's very, vocal on Facebook. So when even sometimes she comments on stuff and like the way she responds is like, oh my gosh, I'm back in second grade, which is pretty cool.
Hi and welcome to the SMA Audio Experience Podcast. It's brought to you by St Michael San Diego's Technology and Social Media team. St Michael Academy San Diego is a Catholic school located in the South Bay region of San Diego County. We've been educating students pre-K through 8th grade for over 50 years. On this podcast, we interview and discuss people, organizations, and topics impacting St. Michael Academy and the community around us. When you're here, you're home.
On this week's episode, we have none other than Mr. Nathan Montemayor. He's a former SMA alumni, and he's currently very involved on campus with St. Michael's in helping a host of different organizations attain lots of great things with a great Christ-driven attitude. Nathan, were you able to make a call?
Yes. Hi, everybody.
Great. Hey, welcome, Nathan. For those who haven't been blessed yet to, meet the great Nathan, the great Nate, who that is, with your very welcoming, loving personality and just heart of gold, can you share with the audience a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you for that really awesome intro. My little background is I pretty much grew up in the parish. I went to the academy, and yes, I am an alumni. I graduated class of 1999, which is almost 20 years ago. Can't believe it. And since then, St. Michael's Academy really honed me to continue to contribute to our church as far as to impact me, as I'm currently working within our parish office, and I work closely also with Preschool and Academy, and I'm involved in a lot of ministries within our church, and I guess St. Michael's Academy set that tone to give back, and so basically I've been giving a lot of my time, talent, and treasure to our community of St. Michael's.
Excellent. And something just caught my ear there. I know that in past discussions, I usually talk with the parish bookkeeper, Mr. Rowley out there, and he likes to say that, time, talent, and treasure as well. Can you expand a little bit on, I guess in the three T's, the time, talent, and treasure? How have you seen that evolve as you've grown into adulthood?
Sure. So, of course, at a young age, learning that first off the bat, like a thankful, blessed to have parents to help let me go through the academy that kind of set precedence to my values with using my time, talent, and treasure, and all the things that I picked up from the academy help me to do what I can to give back. So, for example, for my time, I spend a lot of it, obviously, at work at St. Michael's, but I also try to spend time with God in the Blessed Sacrament and just pray when I can, and also just giving back when there's a community involvement as far as, like, doing things that don't require money, but, like, just giving back. And as far as talent, I obviously, like, I don't want to like say that I have a lot of talents, but I do lead our church sometimes in the music ministry through leading the congregation as being a cantor and being involved in the choir, and also just basically giving back with even. I used to draw a lot at St. Michael's, and I recently brought that back with myself, and of course, like, everything I do, trying to do for the greater glory of God, and lastly, treasure. I definitely used to not do it before, but like I have to count my blessings wisely. So since I started working at the parish, I've been giving back to our church, of course, with the weekly tithing, but like anything else that I can give back to, like, for example, the different programs we have within our church, and even anything to help out the academy as much as I can. I try to do that as well.
Very cool, very cool. And I know recently the parish, every year the parish has a really big event, and I know every year because I see you moving around, communicating with people, putting in work, rolling up your sleeves, and all that stuff every single year. We've known each other for a while. Can you share how your involvement or your impact was a little different this most recent fall festival versus years past?
Sure. Well, for the past, like, let's say, actually very recent, before, during the fall festival, I used to just, like what you said, walk around, help out where I can, and just float around. But like the past couple of years, I've been helping out more, actually, not behind the scenes, but in front as an MC for the fall festival. It's something that I have I guess you say, a God-given gift to talk to people and MC and socialize. So I was asked to help out in that way, to lead the fall festival with the entertainment as far as like being the master of ceremonies. And it's a very, you can say, honored and humbling blessing to do that. And I like to like keep people happy and involved, and I like to just basically make sure that we have all the people scheduled ready to go and just give back my all and keep everybody staying at the fall festival, not just to eat, but to be entertained. And so I try my best. I try my best as much as I can to make St. Michael's just in the fall festival really a community. So that's what I've been doing, probably very recent, since I'd say like 2-3 years ago. But it's a really, really fun. I won't say job, but it's really fun to give my time to do that.
No, that's very great to hear. A lot of the media and the content that's out there, hearing a lot of positivity is a nice breath of fresh air, and that's really very good to hear. A follow-up question on that, back to your academy days. You obviously most recently talked about you've been doing a lot more in the front with being like an MC, a cantor and everything right now in your adult life. If we roll back time to 20 to 25 years ago when you were still a student at St. Michael Academy, would we find Nathan the same MC cantor with exuding the confidence and understanding the drive for entertaining and delighting people? Would we find the same person?
That's a really good question. I can say that really, like, starting at the academy, I was pretty shy at first because I went there from kinder to 8th grade, and I don't know what it was, but even my teacher, 4th grade, Mrs. Pigney, and my mom and dad, they like noticed, like, I guess you can terminalize, they called me like a social butterfly, so to speak. And I started talking and becoming more just conversational with my peers, and growing up, I had a passion for singing, but I just wasn't. I was kind of shy at first, and I still have that little introvertedness in me where I can be a little shy to volunteer. But I was pretty involved with the choir when we had a pretty big choir for the academy, and I did a couple of kind of like our biggest things were like, of course, our Bach hops, the spring flings, and talent shows. I know for a few talent shows I did some participation, whether it was like singing or dancing, and also like I believe I might have emceed one of our talent shows. Mm-hmm. But yes, growing up at St. Michael's really I guess you could say, opened me up, because I was honestly like one of the shyest kids from kinder to like till about third or fourth grade. Shout out to Miss
Okay.
Armstrong and Swingy for probably opening me up to being more social.
No, that's great. And the reason why I asked this question is because we have listeners who, some of them are actual, students. Some of them would actually be parents or prospective parents, right? Who
Cool.
come across St. Michael's or are thinking about St. Michael's maybe as a schooling choice and an environment for their child or their children. And one of the things that I don't think is obviously can be conveyed as clearly through just a flyer or their very first tour. The only way you really get it is seeing the evolution of if your child or children attend there for over a period of time, is the growth of them as a person and the environment that they have to do that. Like, I'm gonna cite, like, for example, you said, hey, at the beginning you're really, really shy, right? And as you progress through the grades and you got older, it's easy maybe for kids in other environments, other schools or other locations or what have you, or other countries, maybe to stay in that path. But what I want to echo to the listeners, to those who are listening, is that, St. Michael's does have that opportunity with, the smaller class sizes and just that loving, caring nature and that family nature that I know Miss Johnson and the whole staff try to provide, of having everyone become more of themselves, right? And even though you're young, like even though as a young child, as you're going through grade school, and eventually, obviously, they're going to grow and they'll evolve even more as they become teenagers, and then when they go into their adult, young adult and adult years, some of those foundational things that you kind of cited, right, that you're doing now, echo where you had those experiences or those opportunities when you were a student, right? And that's the thing I don't think everyone can really gets to see. But having either like a video blog or an audio podcast like this, people who are listening, they get to hear it straight from the source, right? Like you're someone who's been through it, who's gone through the process, who's grown up, and everything like that. And there's some things that you learned or that you experienced back when you're a student there that you're kind of echoing, or just you've matured into fine tuning now, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, a lot of my, I guess to say, like principles, like not principle, but like principles of my like life and a lot of standards that I live by were very nurtured and honed at St. Michael's Academy. I guess you could say if it wasn't for St. Michael's, I probably wouldn't be, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, like I wouldn't be so involved within our church, and I wouldn't be so moved to just kind of like continue in my career right now at St. Michael's, and I think that St. Michael's really kind of gave me a drive for my life to kind of say, like, what is it that I want to do, and it really formed my and helped me develop a sense of just knowing that I need to be very, you say, like, I don't know really how to word it, but it's kind of like responsibility for our life, and knowing that like everything that I've learned was a key component for me to be successful, and yeah, it was really a lot of encouragement from my peers, from the teachers there, and everything, and even prayer, like that really helped out a lot as far as what I learned from St. Michael's, and to carry that on with my life even to this day.
Very cool. And for the self, I guess the self-awareness of looking back on that, or even looking at it presently, that's one aspect of it. And just like we both know, a lot of things in this world that are built, that are great, that are positive, aren't just done by one person. I'm really curious, a lot of the friendships and relationships and people that you met, not just your classmates, but teachers, parent volunteers, sports coaches, all of that. How over the years, with some of those fundamentals of just, forming great relationships back at the academy, how do you still keep in touch with a lot of your old classmates or old, mentors or coaches right now?
Yes, definitely. A lot of my classmates from my year we graduated, we still keep in contact. Of course, it's easier now with social media to just see how everybody's doing, but from time to time, the close-knit group that I hung out with, we try our best to meet up. We just started doing that recently because honestly, we never had a 10-year thing, which we should have done a while ago. But we were like, you know what, we're getting older. We should kind of try to still see each other. So there's quite a few of us who tried our best to just see how everybody's doing, how our life is going, and also teachers. I definitely haven't seen much of them unless they're still there, like Mrs. Green. I still see her almost daily. Miss Arbuthnot, of course. And I've seen a few other teachers at some events, Mrs. Perez. She was my 8th grade teacher, and I've heard from Miss Urbano a few times, who was a 7th grade science teacher. But it's really funny. But I still, two things. I still keep in touch with Mrs. Jean on Facebook, who was my class 2nd grade teacher. So it's pretty cool because she's very, vocal on Facebook. So it's it's almost wow, I'm still back in my classroom when I hear from her, and when even sometimes she comments on stuff, and the way she responds is oh my gosh, I'm back in 2nd grade, which is pretty cool. But more, yeah, I know it's random. But more, I guess more specifically, one of the people who really I'm close to is actually was Mrs. Short, who was the lunch lady there, and she actually became she was the youth minister at St. Michael, and she's very much like my second mom. And it's funny because I was scared of her growing up, and she would always be mad at me for some reason. But it turns out the more people she's angry at, the closer she gets, I guess. But we became really close. And yeah, it became close to the point where I was helping out within her program with confirmation. I'm still helping out confirmation to this day. And actually, shout out to Arla Sigalaki, who's my classmate, but she's the youth and young adult coordinator currently, and I still help her out as much as I can. And so it's people like that, and it's cool seeing some more people like Mrs. Gabriel. She was our after school daycare, and she's a quinceañera coordinator, so I still see her a lot. And Cello, who can forget Cello? When I see her, I'm like, man, Cello, can you believe how much we've grown? And she's still the same person. It's pretty cool. So yeah.
She has a fountain of youth. I mean, I can look back on pictures, from 20 plus years ago, and she still, it's like she hasn't aged. She has the perfect fountain of youth. Still all, looks the same, looks great. Great sense of humor, everything, right?
Yeah, it's you have to give us what you're taking, because honestly, she's been the same ever since we were out. I'm not sure she was there when you're in kindergarten, but ever since I was in kindergarten, it's the same person. It's whoa, you never changed.
That's great. It's true. And for everyone listening, as this conversation keeps going on, for this recording with Nate and myself, it's one of those things. You have two faith-driven adult men still reminiscing about their days in kindergarten, 2nd grade, with people first. They're great, teachers and all that stuff, but at the heart of it, they're still people first, right? And we're still reminiscing on all these great memories that were generated, on the same campus that we walk in, that we work at, or we volunteer very heavily, we're very engaged, or our families are engaged as well and are very close friends. So, I mean, yeah, oh man, those are some great stories, great things that you brought up there. I wanted to make sure I also caught one of I wanted to get your take on, for I guess for this year, like I know there's milestones for like the parish, celebrating certain things or what have you. But now I want to turn the tables more on you, like for this year, if you have a theme that you're living by or a theme that you're trying to infuse, throughout the different wheels of your life, like either it be a quote, a theme, a project that you're working on, like for yourself, growing as a fantastic person that you are. Can you share that with the audience if you want to?
Sure. So I'm trying to think. That's a very strong, or not strong, but like a deep question. But I pretty much, like, I guess you could say, could think for my year. Last year, coming back from Poland, I had the honor to go to World Youth Day, and it was Mercy. So that has been kind of very infused throughout last year and carrying it on this year. But I think my focus kind of more is like, where is God calling me? So it's very like, for my theme of, I guess, mantra of this year would be like listening, very much listening to most especially like God, and figuring out like what He wants me to do and where He's calling me to help and to provide myself, and just like giving myself as a, you could say, one of His children of God, I guess. So I would say, yeah, definitely this year would be something along the lines of just really following the call of God and answering that, and just doing it daily, not even just like, okay, this is what I'm going to plan a month. And it's like every day asking God, like, where are you calling me to? What do you want me to do? And answer that call to mercy as I did last year through the year of mercy, and continue that this year.
And Nate, I want to value both of our time. And the one thing I wanted to find out is, so what right now, what's a big thing that we can help you with the parish? Is there any upcoming big events, any outreach that you really want to amplify, on behalf for yourself and the parish, where the Academy can help you guys out? We'd love to hear that from you of what's going on and what you're working on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first and foremost, most importantly, is like prayer. That's very important for myself and for our parish. That's a lot of prayers for just, blessing, of course, with our different programs and the Academy. And right now we are in the trenches for our capital campaign, and I know I work at the office, and it's very, one thing I want to emphasize is the capital campaign will benefit the Academy as far as, I know some people might be on the fence, like, oh, how much do I have to give? Or how can I help out? Like, every dollar, cent, whatever you can give, even if it's time to help out with the campaign, counts. So this campaign that we're having, it will benefit our whole parish community and the Academy, because going back at it, the capital campaign is going to build us a new parish center, and this parish center will definitely help out the Academy, because one, I used to do sports at St. Michael's before, and I used to coach basketball, and our basketball courts are they're kind of a little old. Well, in this new parish center that's being developed, they're going to have a indoor gymnasium, like literally a basketball court that could be used for the Academy, and also the different our parish hall. It is what they said. It's very old. I mean, I'm not trying to age us, bro, but since we've been at St. Michael's, that we've had the same parish hall. There hasn't been any upgrades. And this parish center would definitely beatify it. Would be such a beautiful place to just be working at, but also having different community events there. Now it could be open to more, like, for example, maybe tournaments or people who want to celebrate anniversaries or parties. But most definitely, like, there now, that is where we need, like, each family and even non-family members who feel, let's say you're an alumni, just to give back anything you can. And it's a very long process right now, but I feel that God is going to provide for us through this. And we're not quite close to our goal, but as I said earlier, like, we're striving to get this going, and hopefully within the next, I would say in the span of 2 to 3, maybe possibly 4 years, we'll see this new parish center, and we will feel like fruits of our labors as we give back. So, yeah, that's probably one program that I want to emphasize as far as for this podcast, especially because the Academy has been there for quite some time, and we want to keep the Academy there. And I mean, what better job would it be to have, like, a new parish center that the Academy can have access to and be able to utilize during school.
Excellent. No, you're 100% right. You know, I can definitely understand a lot of the points that you made too, because for those listeners, especially whether they've been a longtime parishioner, they know the history of St. Michael's very well. And when I say very well, I'm going to talk over. I won't talk over years. I'll talk over decades, right?
Oh.
I remember as a young altar server many years ago, where Father Mel many years ago reached out to the community and the school, the parish, and everyone who he could shout from, right? The with his great stature of being the super short, strong, very stern Irishman that he was, but he echoed a lot of discipline. But one of the things that I always admired, Father Mel, and there's a lot of things that I learned and I still implement to this day, with him, is casting that vision for making an investment for the future, right? Because probably as a little kid, who was maybe 10 years to 12 years old back at the time, I remember him mass after mass, or, in a parent-teacher meeting after parent-teacher meeting, or fall festival, wherever he had an opportunity, when he would throw that right hook, because he saw how important it was to add, to do basic maintenance in the parish, like when the parish still had that old red carpet, right? Before there's tile and all the stuff that's in there right now. Myself, along, I know with you and a lot of other, former students and parents and families, they got to see the evolution of that church go from, the old pews to, redone pews, respectable flooring, so that you wouldn't be tripping on the seams that were splitting apart or what have you. So, just like with a lot of things in life, things, need to get rejuvenated or overhauled. It's a part of, giving, data. It's just a part of business. It's part of day-to-day operations. And yes, is it a little harder? It's definitely a challenge. And is it something that's short-term? No, it's definitely something that's definitely long-term. But I think as adults now, we kind of see that, hey, it's another wave of another part of an interesting couple square hundred, feet that we call St. Michael campus, that house the parish, the academy, and the preschool. In the little confines of that area that have been there for 50 plus years, right? There's times when things need to get rejuvenated, and it's part of those things to, where we all have to put in an investment. Like, people may term it as a sacrifice. I always like to term it the other way, as, you're always investing in the future, because at some point, either their children or, grandchildren or neighbors or close family friends, they benefited from the investments and the sacrifices, or the investments or the groundbreaking of those before us, right? Even like when we were students back there was, people who put investment into times into doing things that they may not have been able to see or experience, But we were, as young men, we were able to benefit from that and grow ourselves, and in turn give that back to the community and to the people that are closest to us, right? So I can definitely see a lot of the value in that. I can see that, and yes, will it take a lot of time, a lot of communication, a lot of back and forth discussion, of which way do we go, do we do this, answering concerns, all of that good stuff. That's just a part of day-to-day business. But you know what? I think everyone who's listening, the one thing that I think we all can find common ground on is have that be a discussion point of, hey, what are we going to do about building this, the capital campaign for the parish center, right? I know there's a lot of other places where they don't have that opportunity. And, a lot of people we know with these new resources, how much we can amplify what we're trying to do. So, with that being said, I thank you so much, Nate. I know it's a Friday. It takes some work to take some time out and answer some questions, some lighthearted, some serious questions, and everything in between. Your story and what you're doing, is another testament to the framework that St. Michael's can provide as an opportunity for someone. Is it guaranteed? Do you get a guaranteed result every single time? We're still people, so we all still make mistakes, and not everything turns out the way that you plan it to be. But as far as setting yourself up with the right framework, you're a great example of someone who's been there as a young boy, who's grown into a teenager, a young adult, and more of an adult here with a renewed purpose of sharing and being a great example for those who are going to be coming through the academy, and young men and women who will be growing up and going into this world to give their contributions as well. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you. Definitely, it's a blessing to be able to express myself here and just everything that I've been through and that I'm going through, and just being a product of St. Michael's Academy. It has really set the tone for my life and has truly blessed me, and I can't thank God enough for, and everybody who's been in my journey that has helped me get to this point in my life. I owe a lot to the Academy for just instilling all those values and always being there for me when, obviously I can come back and visit and feel back at home where I grew up.
Thanks again for listening to another episode of the SMA Audio Experience podcast, brought to you by St. Michael San Diego's Technology and Social Media team. For more information, go ahead and visit our website at www.smasandiego.org. On Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, we use the common handle or username of SMA San Diego. So you can definitely reach out to us there, leave a tweet, a message, a post, a comment. We'll be happy to engage with you, answer all your questions, and really join in part of sharing the St. Michael San Diego story on social media and on the internet, and also via the podcast. So thanks again for listening. Take care, and we'll hear you next week.